It sure looks as if ancient civilizations borrowed laws from each other. With the famous Code of Hammurabi, some people think it borrowed laws from some previous law codes, such as the laws of Eshnunna, which was a town north of Babylon, and its law code was probably written about 50 years before the Code of Hammurabi. There are even two other older law codes that were written in Sumerian, and some people think the scribes behind the Code of Hammurabi may have borrowed from those as well. One big debate in my field has to do with biblical laws that are supposedly given by Moses to the people of Israel at Mount Sinai. A lot of those laws look similar to what's in the Code of Hammurabi or even in the laws of Eshnunna, and some people have argued that the biblical authors virtually plagiarized their own codes by drawing directly on these other earlier codes from the ancient Middle East. Is that a form of plagiarism? Is it a form of theft? That's a good question. But I think there's a more complex thing going on in the ancient Middle East. Instead of one code borrowing laws from another, I would say they're all drawing on a very similar legal tradition. There's a set of practices and a set of customs that were developed early on in the ancient Middle East. And these customs and traditions spread out across the region in the same manner that writing, which was invented in Mesopotamia, spread out across the whole region of the ancient Middle East. So you have a similar legal culture affecting all of these societies, and you do see some differences. But for example, when it comes to inheritance, the oldest son was usually given a preferential share of the estate. In some cases, he's given a double share, so he gets twice as much as all the other sons. In some cases, he gets 10% more, in some cases 20% more. They all share the basic legal custom that he gets more, but the more minor detail of exactly how much more can differ from region to region. So I think the biblical authors are not necessarily borrowing directly from the Code of Hammurabi or other law codes that came before them. They're drawing upon a whole set of practices and ideas and traditions that were very common throughout the region, and that's the main reason why we end up with codes that have similar principles or rules. One more quick example has to do with an ox that's in the street and gores somebody to death. In the Code of Hammurabi and in the biblical book of Exodus, it says that if the owner has been warned that his ox is a menace and he doesn't do things to protect other people around his ox and it gores someone to death, then the owner himself can be put to death. Again, I think that's the fullest extent of the law, and he probably would have had to pay a penalty or a fine. But in both cases, you have the same basic principle. If the owner has been warned and something happens, then he's in big trouble. And you see the similar things happening with other legal issues where you have the same basic principles showing up in both societies, although there can be differences in the details.